The ID Buzz has just been released. The information for it has anyway. So this is a quick summary on what you can expect. So what is the ID Buzz? Well, it's currently being released in two versions, the ID Buzz and the ID Buzz Cargo. But I'll just talk about the ID Buzz, it's easier. It's the VW Microbus. Back in the late 60s when I was still a teenager, we used to have one of these. It's our family vehicle because there were 7 of us, 2 parents, 5 kids. And even I used to drive it around. And it was a great little vehicle, the good old Microbus. So they've gone and updated it to an EV platform. So the interesting thing about this car is it's got an 82 kilowatt battery, of which 77 kilowatts is usable, which is the standard MEB VW platform, same as their ID4, which we don't have in Australia again. But the interesting thing about this particular version is it can charge up to 170 kilowatts per hour. The ID4 at the moment is limited to about 135, I think, maybe 130 or a bit less. But it can charge up to 170 kilowatts per hour on DC charging and 11 kilowatts per hour on AC charging. So that's fairly standard. That's the same as my Model 3 rear wheel drive. It can only accept 170 tops and 11 kilowatts on AC. So we're not too far behind there. Now it's got a 150 kilowatt motor, which is a smidge over 200 horsepower for those in the horsepower mode. And the other thing is it's got a very simple plug and charge capability and bi-directional. Now, I don't know yet whether that's vehicle to grid, but I think it's certainly vehicle to load, and it may, oh no, it's even vehicle to home, not grid. But then you've got to have your wall box charger that is capable of doing that. I rather like the design of this. It is very reminiscent of the old VW Microbus. And as I said, you know, I used to drive one of these back in the late 60s. The interior of the ID Buzz, you've got, for the family one, it's got 2 seats in the front and 3 in the second row, so it's a 5-seater. For the cargo, you've got a 3-seat bench seat at the front, but it's still got a lot of cargo space even in the 5-seat version. They may well be bringing out a 6- and 7-seat version at a later date, but they haven't announced that yet. So the load capacity of the 5-seater is 1,121 litres, and with the seats folded down, 2,205 litres, which is quite huge. The cargo can have 3.9 cubic meters, which is the equivalent of 2 Euro pallets, which is important for cargo transporters in Europe. It's got quite a long wheelbase. It's only just under 3 meters long, 2,988 millimeters, which is as good as 3 meters. That's the same as, I think, the Ioniq 5 has got a 3-meter wheelbase. Its length is just over 4,712 millimeters. You can convert all that into feet and inches for the older people amongst you. That's me. But it's amazing. It's a rear wheel drive, and it can have an 11.1 meter turning circle, which is quite astounding. That's the same as the VW ID3, I think. So that's quite a small circle. Even though it's built like a brick, it does have a slightly sloping front, and its drag coefficient is supposed to be in the region of 0.285 to 0.29. That's the passenger one to the cargo one, which actually isn't too bad. The fuel efficiency of the VW ID4, which has got the same battery, it can do about 400 kilometers on a charge. This won't do as well because it's not quite as efficient. The EV database in the UK has got it down as estimated 350 kilometers, which is about the same as my rear-wheel drive Model 3 with its 50 kilowatt battery, but that drag coefficient is a lot lower. So I think it will get between 350 and 370 on a charge, which really isn't too bad. So in Europe, pre-sales start in May, and it will be available market launch later on. They've said in autumn, which is autumn Europe time, so that's spring our time in Australia. It'll make it to market in the European countries to start off with, and America, yeah, probably early next year. They will probably in a year or two's time also bring out the VW California, which is quite popular with the surfing fraternity. So that's not going to come out just yet. I'm imagining 23 they might announce that, for deliveries in 24. As for its availability in Australia, well, we haven't got the ID3 or 4 over here yet, really, have we? So I don't think we're going to get this till 25 at the earliest. We really need to get rid of a government that is very fossil fuel orientated. I shouldn't get political, but bugger it. You know, we've got people that bring coal into Parliament and he's in charge. So yeah, you don't hold out much hope. Many EV manufacturers have said, what's the point in coming to Australia? We've got no emissions control standards. Would be nice if we did. Then we'd start to have a good EV selection and EVs that are cheaper. Oh well, we can live in hope. So in summary, the VW ID Buzz, I like it. Mind you, it does bring back some very fond memories of my teenage years. So it'll start European production first half of this year, they say, and that will be both the cargo and the Buzz. It will launch in the third quarter, and advanced sales are going to start in May. The North American area will launch in 2023, with sales starting in 2024. Australia this decade. So I think it's going to be a bit of a hit. I rather like this one. I'm not keen on the ID3 or the ID4 from VW. They're pretty bland, ordinary looking cars. But this one I like. Fond memories. So thanks very much. Let me know what you think.